Hi everyone, I am David, a man who has been through the darkest days of his life. I want to tell you my story, a story without miracles or luck, but only relentless efforts to change myself and find the meaning of life. I know that many of us have felt frustrated, lost, and not knowing how to get out of our current situation. I was like that too. But the wonderful thing is, we can always change if we want, and are willing to start from the smallest things. Not long ago, my life was a mess. I was a family man with a wife and 2 lovely children, but behind that seemingly peaceful picture was a series of sad and deadlocked days. I worked in an office job with a low salary which did not bring satisfaction or meaning. My job offered no advancement, no creativity or challenges, and I became indifferent to everything. Every morning, I woke up with a heavy heart. I dragged myself out of bed, doing everything mechanically and bored. Every day I went to work like a machine, without purpose, without joy. I came home exhausted, just wanting to escape from everything. My family was not happy either. My wife and I talked less and less. Instead, we argued endlessly about money, about children, about everything. I knew I had disappointed her. I had promised her a bright future, a happy life, but all I did was wallow in failure and indulgence. I became lazy, irresponsible. I spent time on social media, games, and all kinds of meaningless things, instead of spending time with my family. I knew I was wrong, but I didn't know how to change. I was afraid of change, and most of all, I didn't believe I could do it. My life continued to be dark until one day, a small event changed everything. It was an evening when I was sitting on the sofa, staring at my phone, scrolling through meaningless news. My son, who was only 8 years old, approached me and gently asked, "Daddy, why don't you play with me?" I looked into my son's clear eyes. Those eyes contained disappointment and sadness. My little child, he just wanted a father who loved him and spent time with him. Then I couldn't do that. At that moment, my heart felt like it was being squeezed. I realized that if I continued to live like this, I would not only destroy my life, but also hurt the people I loved the most. My son deserved a better father. My wife deserved a husband who cared and loved her, and I deserved a better life. I knew I had to change immediately. When I decided to change, I realized that I couldn't do it haphazardly. I needed a plan, a clear direction. I started looking for information, reading books on self-development, listening to inspirational stories from people who had gone through similar situations. I learned about setting SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And I started setting my first goals. My first goal was to change the way I started my day. I used to wake up late, always rushed and tired. I decided that from now on, every day I would wake up at 6 a.m. and spend at least 30 minutes exercising. At first, this was extremely difficult. Waking up early is not easy, especially when my body is used to sleeping in and being lazy. But I knew that if I wanted to change, I had to overcome myself. I set the alarm far from my bed to force myself to get up. I started with light exercises like walking, then moved on to running and high-intensity exercises. Every time I woke up early and successfully exercised, I felt proud of myself. In addition to waking up early, I knew that I needed to change the way I ate. I used to abuse fast food, drink a lot of soda, and eat a lot of sweets. This not only made me tired, but also made my health worse. I started learning how to cook, changed my diet by adding more green vegetables, reducing sugar and processed foods. I started drinking more water and trying to eat on time. Gradually, I felt my body getting healthier, and this gave me more motivation to continue changing. One of the most important things I had to change was the way I treated my family. I used to be too busy with useless things, ignoring precious moments with my family. I set a goal to spend at least an hour every evening with my family, playing with my children, talking to my wife, helping her with housework. At first, it was not easy, especially when I felt tired after a day of work. But gradually, I realized that those moments were the most precious time. My children started to feel happier. They laughed and told me about what they learned at school. My wife also started to open up more, and we gradually understood each other better. Changing myself was not an easy journey. There were times when I felt tired and wanted to give up. There were mornings when I couldn't get out of bed, days when I felt lost and wanted to go back to my old habits. But every time I did, I thought of my family, thought of my son with those sad eyes. That was the motivation for me to continue. I learned to be patient with myself. I realized that change does not come quickly, but it requires perseverance and effort every day. I also learned to forgive myself for my mistakes, not to blame, not to torment, but simply to get up and keep trying. Gradually, my efforts began to pay off. After a few months, I noticed a lot of changes in myself. I felt healthier, more energetic. I no longer felt lethargic and tired every morning. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw a more confident, more responsible man. And the best thing was, I saw changes in my family. My wife started to smile more. We could talk and share with each other about the difficulties and joys in life. My children were also happier. They started to spend afternoons playing with their father, laughing and telling me about the little things in their lives. I am no longer the failed and careless man I used to be. I have become a person who is responsible for myself, my family, and the people I love. I have found meaning in simple things, in waking up every morning with joy, in family meals filled with laughter, in walking with my children in the afternoon. I know that my journey of change is not over. Change is a continuous process, and every day is an opportunity for me to become better. But now, I have faith that I can do it. I have overcome the darkest days, and I know that as long as I persevere and do not give up, I will continue to go further. I share my story not to say that I am perfect, but to say that change is absolutely possible. If you're in the same situation I was in, feeling frustrated, discouraged, and not knowing how to get out of it, I want to tell you that you are not alone. Start small. Be patient with yourself, and you will see that your life can change for the better. Join me on this journey, and I believe that each of us can find meaning and joy in our lives.